What's up, and welcome back to the Seats to Streets YouTube channel and podcast. I am so glad you're here. I am your host, J.R. Horn, and the guy over there with me is Brian Gorman. He is my co-host and main man of the hour that you get to hang out with us. So we're so glad you're here. But Brian, I got to ask, how did kickboxing go this week? I see you got to swing some punches with someone really cool.
I didn't even send you all the pictures from something else that happened. So that was Saturday. I got the chance to, over the past couple of weeks, got the chance to spar against a UFC heavyweight. That was fun. I got the chance to spar against a guy who's just a bit off his rocker, but in a really fun way. And like the poor guy, by the time we were done with 3 rounds, along with a lot of other things, he's just exhausted. And I know I'm tagging him, but I didn't realize how much until I watched the video back. I'm like, oh, sorry. I sent him a comment like, I am so sorry I did that. Because at one point I caught his leg, and that's his bad leg. So he's barely kind of placed. And then I did this rear leg kick with his other leg in my hand and just dropped him. So we did that. That was fun. But then on Tuesday after that, I'm in class, and Tuesday's kind of a technique class, and we're working on some elbows and some specific elbow work. And in the midst of that class, there's one particular woman that I partner with quite a bit, and she at one point puts an elbow into my nose on accident, and then we're working on a series of elbows that then drops to a knee, and she fires her knee up through my mouth.
Ooh.
So as we're doing it, I come out and tag her right on the eye socket, and then immediately after we're doing I'm just sitting there showing her this is the position you're going to want to be in, and she's like, oh, like this, and then she comes in for it as I'm trying to demonstrate as well, and puts her bionic elbow straight through I cut the inside of my mouth up, and I'm sending her a picture. I'm like, do you see what you did to me? I just texted you yesterday to be gentle. I'm a delicate flower. And
no. I know you've got headgear on. I've seen that.
We didn't. No, not for that. No, we're supposed to not make contact in that particular situation. So
missed that point.
She did some serious serious damage, but man, was it fun.
I was watching one of them. You sent me the link, and I was sitting there watching it because we've talked about sparring and UFC and all that stuff, MMA training, kickboxing. And I'm like, man, I got to see some of this. Show me what it's like. Because you've sent me your post-workout, thing where you shows your heart monitor, and it basically says call an ambulance when you get into it.
Yet.
He's not dead yet, but it's close. And I'm sitting there watching, and you got a hold of this one guy. He was taller than you. He had red shorts on, and man, you all were rolling to the point where the coach comes over and goes, boys, that's some good sparring. And then I could tell you were like, all right, heart rate, let's keep going. And then switch, and you got paired up, I guess, with this lady that you're talking about, and just the speed difference and the power. At one point in time, you're like, no, hit me.
That was a whole different day. That was a whole different day. When it is common just because of my size that when I partner up with any of the women, I'm like, hey, I want you to go full power. Now I say that, and I can tell you right now, we were working liver shots yesterday, and I was same person on Tuesday who put her elbow through my mouth, and there was just no way for me to help her learn what she needed to learn and hold pads. So I just told her, hit me in the chest, go ahead and take the liver shot, drop into them. And so today I can feel right around the liver is all bruised, and I get this big bruise up here on a shoulder from it. But I think that's great. I think it's important for them. If you're going to do it at full speed. If you don't do it at full speed, you won't know how to do it if you ever need it. So yeah, when I'm with that, there was that little girl who I was with there at one point. She's only 15, and I'm telling her and then somebody else after that, I'm like, look, if I'm your dad, if I'm your husband and you're in here, I want you with the muscle memory to knock somebody out. So come at me full force, because I need you to know how to do that. I'm not worried about it. I can take that hit. And man, is it fun? But unfortunately, to go straight from this guy who the two of us are absolutely going, we're throwing pretty hard back and forth, and then it's like, okay, don't hurt this little 15-year-old girl.
Dude. Oh man, I don't have anything that can even contend with that. I took we had a gym open up when I was in high school, and so we decided in the off season of football it'd be great to take a boxing class because he was teaching us. And I remember one time he left us to go downstairs to do something. He was like, look, pull your punches. Yeah, right. You're not here,
Yeah.
bunch of high school students, and we left bloody. I remember catching one dude, just catching him right in between the face, the pad, and just catching it right, and his nose just went. I mean, just nasty. It's like, oh, we got to clean up before coach comes back, because this is
one of the
bad.
guys who's on staff with me now joins me at the gym, and he came to his first sparring day 2 weeks ago, and his nose hasn't recovered yet from a shot I gave him straight up the middle, like right to the point of his nose. And yep, good times.
Too funny.
When else do you get to? I started because I could go with my son. When else do you get to punch your son in public?
And now your staff. So even better. I don't see any problem with that. So today, I want to talk about a subject because it's now October. I want to talk about a subject that maybe it could be a little sore subject to some pastors, and others it's just fine. I actually did some text message research. We'll go into that here in a little bit, of just checking with pastors in my contact list and some of the churches that I actively coach or that are accessing some of our content online at ceasethestreets.com, and just to say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And man, the gamut that came back was amazing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But what I want to talk about is it's October. It's Pastor Appreciation Month, right? Everybody's excited for Pastor Appreciation Month, right?
Appreciation Month. Yeah. Churches I can't tell you how many churches just go wild over Pastor Appreciation Month.
So I did a little research, Brian. Pastor Appreciation Month has only been around since the 90s.
Makes sense.
Someone said maybe 1992. One of the articles I found was like 1992. There was a group of ministers that had noticed that kind of the current state of pastors, the current mental state and emotional state, and decided that, hey, we need to do something to encourage, our clergy. Back then it was called Clergy Appreciation Month. And so they wanted to do something that would encourage the clergy, and it's kind of formed and morphed into Pastor and Minister Appreciation Month or whatever. It's even gone down to being some people celebrate it only as one specific Sunday in October, and then others of us that prefer to have, instead of birthdays, we have birthday months. We have Pastor Appreciation Month, and so that's kind of the history behind it. It got a little fame, and again, people aren't online aren't really good name droppers because I haven't found any names, but it's there's a group of ministers that started, but then there was a large Christian organization that picked it up and ran with it. I probably kind of like a what is that? Not Valentine's, it was Sweetest Day, so Hallmark can continue to sell 6 months later. So I'm, but this episode is now coming in October, so we got Pastor Appreciation Month. Brian, I know when you and I have talked about Pastor Appreciation Month, my tone is different than yours. Why is that? Why?
What difference are you thinking is going on there?
Because you're like, yay, Pastor Appreciation Month.
Here's why I think it actually. This is the thing. When I first got here, for example, like they would go all out for Pastor Appreciation Month. It was a big deal, and it would kind of be all month long, different things taking place, right? So that was pretty common then, right? Now, I'll honestly be a little surprised if the church does anything about it. Now, here's a couple of reasons for this, a couple of things to consider. So when you start talking about Pastor Appreciation Month, my guess is there's a few guys who are listening to this going, what is he talking about? Like, who does what? So let me start with super pragmatic, Brian. You get Pastor Appreciation every single time you check your bank account on the 1st and 15th, right? That's Pastor Appreciation, right? Because if they don't appreciate you, they don't keep putting stuff in that account on the 1st and 15th. That's kind of how that works. Now,
I know some pastors suddenly realized they weren't appreciated before.
Right. Would it be nice if there was more of that? Of course, right? But we do know that there is a piece of that. There is a piece of that goes on. And so
we talked about this. It's a working farm.
I can't help you with that.
We film from home. I'm in my basement. He's in his basement. COVID has put us here. So this is a working farm. Welcome to the Seats to Streets YouTube channel and be a part of our families.
Exactly. Okay. So I think that's part of it, right? The 1st and 15th is Pastor Appreciation Week.
Right.
So there's a component there. The other thing that I have found to be really interesting in our church, right, in my church, is when I first got here, there was, I would suggest, a bigger divide between the pastor and the congregation. But the more that I've become friend and family to people, I have found that when someone starts calling me pastor, or when someone starts engaging with me in that sense, not that I see it as insulting, I don't, but I do see it as a statement of title that has defined the relationship. And so sometimes when there is this pastor appreciation, it weirds me out. I'm not saying it bothers me as a problem. I'm like, I just find it a little awkward sometimes when it's my people that I consider good friends who are doing this thing for me because, oh, that's right, he's my pastor too. And so the role seems a little odd that way. So I would say there's some things like that that sort of play out in this conversation for me. The more I've become just part of the fabric of people's lives and the fabric of the relationships around here, the less people see me as their pastor, and the more I'm this guy who they know who happens to know a lot about this old book, and as a result, someone who's able to be there for counsel and for help and for assistance. But I'm much more of like a friend and family than I am the pastor. And so I think that plays into the conversation. At least that's been my experience, or maybe I'm hoping that's why they stopped doing anything.
You're getting paid, right?
As far as I know.
So that's been, I'll be honest with you. That's kind of some of my observations as well, as the relationship and the relational level of the pastor goes up with the congregation, or with their specific group of people. The level of appreciation becomes more heartfelt and more genuine. It's less gift based. I mean, I don't know how many times we get, we got 3 kids now, so we get invited to birthday parties, left and right. And I remember one time recently, we're in a rush to get everybody out the door. We're in the car, we're rolling to the birthday party, and my wife and I looked at each other and went, "Did you get a gift?" "No, I didn't get a gift." "Did you get a gift?" "No." Of course, there's no point in asking the 3 kids behind us if they got a gift, because they don't have any money. And it becomes obligatory like this. Well, I guess, it's October. This is kind of what we do. And sometimes those gifts can shine through, and they're fantastic and they're awesome. So if you're watching this and you're like, what do I get my pastor for Pastor Appreciation Month? Hang on, we're going to do some quick fire gifts at the end.
There's some great ideas out there, and some great things people have given us through the years.
But sometimes it's the genuine, hey, you got anything going on Thursday night? Come on over to the house and hang out. Like, sometimes those are the most appreciative things, and just spend time getting to know me as a person, because oftentimes our interactions with our pastors on a Sunday morning, or our interactions with our people on a Sunday morning, is so focused on what we do around church that that's the same thing you see over and over and over. Well, that's why when sometimes you hang out with a person, with a minister outside of Sunday morning, you suddenly realize they're a whole different person than I thought they were, because you get a chance to see their humanity.
So, and I will say, I mean, the smirk and the bit of the sarcasm that I bring to it is because I'm in a really healthy place. My church is really healthy. My people are really healthy. I've been here for 17 years now. In fact, it'll be 17 years here in just a couple of days.
Wow.
And so
congrats,
I've been here 17 years. The church has really, it's just a different experience. And so there's a bit of a struggle for me, because it's really, really healthy. And so I get appreciated all the time as people's friends, as people know these details and things about me. And so all of a sudden someone will come back and they'll give me a gift of something they saw. I'm like, man, I thought of you when I saw this. And so that kind of thing is going on regularly. And so the idea of one big month for me makes me a little uncomfortable in this current setting. But I also know I've been in other settings where that month really would have mattered to have helped me feel more connected, because there are times I didn't feel in settings in the past, didn't feel really appreciated, valued. The premise of being appreciated is to say, here is your value, and your value and worth is going up. There is appreciation to it. There's a rise in your stock value, so to speak. And we want you to feel that we know that you're worth more, so to speak. And so those little things can matter. Although I will say there's a lot of things that church leaders can do to build this into some systems and structures within your church, which is also true for some things that some mission teams and benevolence teams or people who care for these other organizations can kind of build into their structure to bring in a sense of appreciation on a regular basis. But we'll get to some of those things.
Yeah, we definitely have those lined up because, man, there are some churches, Brian, that are rocking the game when it comes to appreciating their missionaries when they come back overseas on furlough. I mean, fantastic, to the point where they are sharing pictures and just how emotional it's made the family, anything and like that. But I do want to, we'll definitely talk about that later. But I have something really cool. So I did a little text message research. I wanted to get some real-time answers to be able to share here on the podcast is from other ministers that are active with Seats to Streets. What does it look like for them in their context for Pastor Appreciation Month? So I think we should go through a little section that I'm calling Mouthy Ministers. Go figure, right? I mean,
I've met them.
Yeah, I've met a few of them. Might have been them. This section is called Mouthy Ministers. This is from the mouths of ministers. And if you're listening and you're a pastor, you're a minister, you're a church staff, you might relate to some of these. Some of these you can tell are deep felt. Like I really need to hear this, and some of them are just awesome. You can relate to them, and I really just kind of want to share some of those with you, Brian. So here's what I did. I asked for Pastor Appreciation Month. I wish my congregation would. That was a text. I let them know. I said, hey, quick recall or quick draw responses. Finish the sentence and send it back. I didn't ask for clarification. Didn't have it. I just took what they said and I shared it here. So this is what I've asked them for Pastor Appreciation Month. I wish my congregation would. Here's the first one. All come to church on the same day.
Yeah.
I didn't edit that one. That's verbatim.
Keep wishing.
For Pastor Appreciation Month, can y'all just come to church on the same day, man? Stop doing the whole, come to church once a month and that's the average churchgoer. I mean, that's man, the pain and the limit. Actually, this pastor then went on and said, hey, really, this is what I would like to see happen. And so that's later on in the slides. But isn't that echoes through the heart of most people? Yeah. Or most
Which
ministers.
is not a bad. So one thing our church did years ago related to that, which is intriguing, is it was one of my first years here, is they did this, like they made the church picnic. And like we did this big at the time, we did this big church picnic, and it was all catered more or less, like the church provided it. But they did it after church on a Sunday and had all sorts of stuff going on in the parking lot. And they really worked very hard to get. They made it a big push to get everybody there. Yeah. And then as part of the picnic, they brought each minister up on stage and did a different a gift for each individual minister that really spoke to that minister's hobbies and interests and values. I mean, they really thought through the process, but as a result of it, it was really cool because you did have a large portion of the church there because of how much emphasis they put upon this day.
I really value gold bars and tomahawk steaks. Yeah. So here's one. Give to a pastor appreciation fund to be spread out among the staff. That was one of the pastors that replied back this morning, really with the heart of, hey, let's just spread it all out. Everybody needs the appreciation, not just the pastors. You're watching, you're a part of the church. There are ministerial staff on your staff and there are non-ministerial staff on your staff. And if you're watching and you're not on staff at a church, there are people on your on staff at your church that would be considered ministerial or ministers or non-ministerial that maybe don't carry the full weight of clergy and maybe haven't been ordained. So I think this really speaks to a camaraderie and a culture of we are all in this together.
Yeah. I currently have a staff of 11, myself included, but there are only 2 ministers in that staff of 11. And so it's definitely just caring for the people who are caring for the people. Yeah. Again, our church years ago did something like this. They did it for a few different years. They just put out these boxes and they told people what they were doing with it. And very much like this, they just kind of, shared that around and made sure that everybody got a little something from that. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Here's another one. Say thanks or write a note. How many times have we just been blown away, like balled up in our throat at when someone just made eye contact and said the right word, or we read the right note and just fell apart. That's so massive. That don't underestimate that. Yeah.
So, Pastor, if you don't have one of these, I'm going to encourage you to start one of these. You need a keep going file.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked at times in the past about an alpha file. If we haven't, we'll do that at some point. But you need a keep going file, and a keep going file is just that. It's the days where I got nothing left, and I've got this actual file folder. And when I get an email that really touches me, I print it out. When I get a card, when I get, I've got a set of shelves behind me in my main office that has different gifts that people have given me, and I can kind of see those, and it's that reminder. Keep going. And I just pull those things out once in a while as a reminder, man, this is the impact that we're having, because there's days you just don't feel that. But yeah, if you're a person in a church, even if you're on staff in the church, senior lead ministers, you need to write these to your staff. Other staff, write these to your lead ministers. Find these ways to encourage one another on staff, but definitely from the leadership and from other things, and make them very specific about what that person does.
Yeah, my file, I still have it. It's not in a file folder anymore, but I still have the contents. My file folder I named "They Don't Hate Me."
I actually, for a while, turned it into, and I've got a lot of them, I just turned it into an Evernote file, because the file was getting bigger and bigger. So I would just snap a picture and post it to my Evernote, just basically turn it into PDF. And I kept it in one particular Evernote file. So it was just easy to access from anywhere, because some days you kind of need that.
I'm with you. How about this one? We just want to feel loved. It's not about getting stuff. I just want my folks to get Jesus. I mean, clearly I text this person back and be like, you didn't answer my question. You just told me what you wanted, but that's okay. We get it. Like, I mean, how much of Pastor Appreciation Month do we just want to know that our people are winning, right? That they're being a disciple worth recreating. They're being a disciple who makes disciples. I mean, that's massive. And just being that close when that happens can give you so much energy to get through whatever,
practical
trauma.
Action step to that. You want your pastor to feel loved? Bring somebody with you to church. Don't just invite them to church. Bring them with you to church. Introduce them to your minister, and be able to go, man, I really wanted them to meet you. I love what you're doing. I love what we're doing here. Like, there are very few things that will fill us up more than seeing our people be, sharers and being evangelistic. That's a huge practical thing that can be done. And it gives you kind of as the person who's maybe inviting someone to church, gives you this nice, hey, I just really would like you to meet this person. Now, I've seen that go I just recently saw this go very, very bad, as a friend of mine who's very, very new to church went to visit some family, and they're like, I'd really like you to meet my minister, which sounded really polite. And as soon as she told me that, I'm like, oh, this is going to go bad. Because within the first few minutes, the minister's like, hey, you have some marriage troubles. I'm like, oh dear, don't start with that, minister. Show some love. But the overall premise, I'm sure that minister felt appreciated. He just didn't do such a good job in reciprocating that appreciation back out. But yeah, bringing people and telling your minister, man, I really wanted them to hear this, or I knew you were going to preach on this message, and I thought my friend could really benefit from hearing this. That's a big deal.
It also brings me to talk about our sponsor today for the ministers that have diarrhea of the mouth like that and need some help. Seats the Streets is sponsoring itself. Call us. We'll help you. Don't do that again. All right.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Next one. How about this? Send me an example of how they are making our church's mission a tangible action in their lives.
Yeah.
The longing, I can hear the longing of the heart that was forming the words on the screen through the fingers to be sent, and said, this is how I know I'm appreciated. It's just come and tell me how the gospel has made a tangible impact in your life. Tell me how our church, the bride of Christ, has made tangible action in their lives. Oh my goodness, Brian.
Practical action step to this. Take a picture, use your phone, take a picture of you doing whatever it is, right? Doing whatever it is in your community, doing whatever it is with your friends, doing it whatever with other people from the church, right? And then send it to the minister, absolutely, but also post it online and put a hashtag, tag the church in it. So recently, one of the things that we look for is we look for our life groups, our small groups, to get together outside of just study. And recently, one of our groups went down to a concert venue together and kind of spent the whole evening at this concert venue. And they made sure to post, and they hashtag what they were doing, and they shared it on the church's page as well. And it was just kind of like, oh yes, that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. This is what we want to see people doing. And so that for us as a church was like, man, that's amazing. That's exactly what we like to see. And then there's so many other ways that can be lived out as well. But take a picture, send it to the minister with a little note, tag it on social media, tag the church, tag the minister, whatever it may be. Huge thing for the minister to go, oh, this is impacting people's lives.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I want to move on to a subject briefly to talk about, because we're still in the midst of COVID, and we're starting to see some massive spikes in COVID cases again, hospitalizations. We're having those conversations of ICU beds and all that. So that also means we're coming ever increasingly close to the time last year when churches were encouraged to shut down. There were many churches and many pastors that learned how to pastor through a lens. We've talked about that many times before. So in light of this, and in light of whether we think we want to be appreciated or not, Brian, why is 2021 a time not to skip a Pastor Appreciation Month? Well, maybe you deal with the crying kid. I'll go first.
Yeah, I got a crying kid right now, so you got to give me a minute.
So I'm going to appreciate you.
No, we're good. We're good. It got itself resolved.
Okay.
Ask me that again.
We're in the midst of COVID. We're in the midst of COVID. I mean, for crying out loud, this is the reason why we're in our basements and put our studios in our basements.
True.
And why our families are here, and why we really don't care if there's a crying kid on the YouTube channel, because
part of life.
This is what it is now. But in the midst of COVID, in the midst of the weight that pastors feel, and in the midst of this looming anxiety of, will we be shut down again, or will I be forced to make that decision against whatever, whoever thinks whatever? Why is it important that this year, this October, or even this year in general, that we as pastors accept those gifts that come our way and take them to heart even more than what we've done in the past?
Okay, so in an oversimplified way, I've found two types of ministers over the last year. It's extremely oversimplified, but you'll see this one. There are people who are wired a little more like me, who actually thrive in chaos and enjoy it, that saw 2020 as this amazing opportunity. And so all 2020, we're making shifts, making adjustments, bob and weave, moving through all the stuff we got to move through, and constantly improving who we were as a church. Like, who we are today is so much better than who we were 2 years ago. Now, here's the problem, though. If you have a minister like that, or if you're someone like that, then you've also noticed potentially the last few months have been shockingly calm, maybe a bit boring in relation to the others. And so I've seen a handful of ministers who everybody was really worried about in the midst of COVID, be like, this is awesome. They wouldn't say it out loud, but they were like excited by the opportunities, who are now starting to deal with the adrenaline dump depression that comes from this. And I mean, this isn't something that I've been working through myself and getting some wise counsel and advice on as well. And so there's this sort of reminder that, hey, when things are good and things are calm, you don't have to break stuff. Let it go. And so being able to receive that encouragement is just really valuable. If you're one of those people, really valuable for you to go, wait. No, just because the chaos is over, the job, the role is not.
Right.
Then you have other people who came out of last year they don't like the chaos. They don't like the punches. They don't like the shifting. And so they kind of just tried to make it through. Some of them by arching their back and just going to like fight their way through it. And some of them just by, turtling it up and just trying to protect themselves. Everything comes back to beating people up now. But like some of them end up in this situation. And so you're just now getting to the point with many of them where they're kind of like, the best way I think of it is like kind of just looking and seeing if it's safe again.
Yeah.
And so these appreciation things are really key. It's also very key for the minister, for the pastor, right? This is the real question I think you were asking there. It's key for the minister to receive those things well. Because if they don't receive them well, then sort of what you're telling your congregation is like, I don't appreciate you. If I look at my wife And I will tell my wife on a regular basis, you are the most beautiful woman in the world. And then there's a tie for second between my two daughters. It's the phrase I use with them quite often. Most beautiful woman in the world. I'm regularly telling my wife how attractive she is in a lot of other ways, but then also tell her how physically attractive she is. And yet, for a long time, there would be sort of a dismissal of that. And so we had this conversation about it, and I kind of said, honey, do I lie to you? Like, so I need you to not call me a liar when I tell you this, because what I'm telling you is true. And it's important for our relationship that you learn to accept that I know this is true, whether you know this is true or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
100%.
Otherwise you're dismissing me. You're calling me whatever, a liar or foolish or, or blind, which that part may be closer to accurate. But these things are going on. The same thing's true. Years ago, I got the chance to go play this amazingly expensive golf course, very expensive golf course. And so I'm in line to pay for it. I've got myself. And then so one of my mentors in ministry and one of the guys in our church who was a member at this expensive private country club. And so I'm broke at this point. Like I have no right to be there. And so this guy who was a member of the club decides he was already saying he's going to pay for it. And I'm kind of arguing with him about it a little bit. And my friend in the ministry just kind of grabs me by the shirt and drags me back into the clubhouse a little bit more. He goes, kind of laughing about it. And then he gets me off to the side and goes, you will stop that.
Yeah.
This man is trying to show you that he loves you. Do not take that opportunity to care for you away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So you smile, you nod, and you just show your gratitude the whole time.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me ever since. That part of my job of pastoring and caring for my people is showing how much their attempts to show me affection and appreciation and value and worth and relationship is received. Because we all know that one of the greatest things is when you get that perfect gift for someone and you see their face light up and there's this joy, like you feel amazing that they did that. And you, pastor, have the chance to provide that to anyone who would provide you a gift, not by dismissing or downplaying, but by really pouring into the love they're trying to pour into you. It's a huge skill for you to take on.
100%. I had to learn that even deeper than just by being a pastor. When we jumped into being full-fledged missionaries to serve churches here in the United States, being a part of an organization called Team Expansion, and just to be able to be a ministry arm of theirs back to the churches, we fully live on support like missionaries. So we get paid by the tithes of individuals that faithfully give every month. And Brian, I tell you what, I mean, we've got a supporter that gives $10 a month that I'm not sure they have the $10 a month. But it would be maybe one of the worst, not just errors in judgment, like we've talked about in the past, but one of the most kingdom fails that I've ever had. If I were to go back to them and say, hey, would you consider not supporting because I think you need it? No, I'm taking away their ability to be a tangible blessing for the kingdom. And I think you're right, Brian. I think we as ministers have a little bit to work on when it comes to that. But we know that October is here. We know that Pastor Appreciation Month is here. Maybe you celebrate it, maybe you don't. But here's what we
ask you a question before we go real quick. Before we keep going,
that's fine.
We're at like 33-ish minutes here.
Yeah.
Can we rapid fire back and forth here on just specific gifts that you've seen the church give that you're like, boom, here you go. Here's some quick ideas.
So here, how about we do this? You give me 2 good ideas, and I'll give you 2 good ideas, and then we'll give 2 bad ideas of what we've seen before, because we can't leave ourselves off the table with that. Let's keep it PG-13, Brian. Don't go super dark of some of the bad things you've seen. But give me 2. Give me 2 things that you think are this. These are 2 great things to give your pastor for Pastor Appreciation Month.
All right. 1. This is a big one that will probably turn into a whole other cast at some other point. But for leadership of the church to put together a pastoral care policy. That includes things like days off, that makes sure that those are being done well, that includes things like sabbatical policies, that includes a couple of other components. So that would be one that I would suggest is a really, really big deal. Another one that I have seen that was just amazing is where the church came together and they planned a weekend retreat for the pastor and his wife that included like spa treatments, that included this amazing dinner that they never could have afforded themselves. It included a night at this nice hotel. And in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't all that expensive for the church, but it was huge. And they also took care of, hey, we've already lined up childcare for your kids. They put all of it together to provide this long weekend. And then they were still back for Sunday. It was just actually, they did it during the week. As a way of providing that for them by working with the connections and friendships they had. So pastoral care policy is big, and just a little spa week, midweek trip away or whatever, huge gift I saw that was amazing.
Yep. So too, I think that would be that just be fantastic if you are whether you're in leadership of the church, an elder, or you just attend the church, it doesn't matter. You can still pull this off. I think one. You pay for some good counseling, just to send them, say, hey, we just want to care for you. And we know that as people that attend the church or elders, we may not be professional in that, but we know it's hard. We bring all of our mess to you, and we ask you to hold it. So can you go to someone else and ask them to hold it and help you process it? So individual counseling or marriage counseling. And the second one, super practical, make a payment on the debt for them. We all know pastors carry debt, whether it's medical debt or school loans that they're still trying to pay for because they've gone above a bachelor's or whatever, or maybe they've got several kids that are driving and they've got a vehicle loan for their kid. Make a payment debt for them, payment on their debt for them, or just pay off the car. You don't have to go give them a car. Just be like, hey, what do you owe on that? And you find out somehow they owe $1,800 on the car, but so they can give it to their son so he can drive. All right, go pay it off. Do your best to do it. So, all right. So then here, for two of the worst gifts you could ever give pastors for Pastor Appreciation Month.
Okay. This is one that I know a group of people that actually received. And when they told me about it, I'm like, that's an amazing gift. But in talking to some others on that same staff, they did not feel the same way. So it was actually a prepaid Visa card.
Yeah.
So certain gift cards, not all, but certain gift cards, such as specific gas stations and things like that. When I was trying to figure out why is this a problem, and it's because of all the additional fees that sometimes those prepaid cards would have on it.
Yes.
And like how it had to be, like the cards were just complicated to use. And so I did know some who felt like it made it a little harder than others. So that was one that I saw. And another one that I saw that I thought that, again, it made sense to me why they would get it. But after hearing from the people why it was a problem, it made more sense. It still kind of comes back to gift cards. But I saw another place, basically another church, do that same sort of weekend away type thing, but they did not include the minister in any component of the scheduling, the issue with what they were going to do when it came to their kids. They just kind of basically said, this is your weekend. And they're like, well, but we didn't. I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think they bought a cruise for them, which sounded amazing, except it was at like one of the worst possible times for that particular trip to be taken. And so the family is trying to smile and nod as it actually made things extremely complicated for them. So the church was trying to do something good, but being able to be a part of that would have been beneficial.
Yeah. So my two are maybe a little less grandiose. I think the number one worst gift you could ever get give a pastor for Pastor Appreciation Month. My number one is a Bible.
Oh, good call.
How many times do you see people walk in and go, I got him a brand new Bible?
Good call.
This man's got a building full of Bibles. He's probably got he's probably got a piece of the scroll autographed on his wall. So a Bible. That's a Bible. And to me, the second one, you have to know that I'm an extrovert. I want to be around people. I don't get recharged or revive myself by just going to some place where it's not a lot of people. Now I'm an extrovert, so the second thing you can get, the second worst gift you can get me for Pastor Appreciation Month is any gift that I can't share with someone. That's half the gift for me. Half the gift. So if you're going to be a $5 Starbucks card, thanks. I'll get coffee on the way to work. I don't have to pay for it today, but I just did it the other 4 days of the work. But you give me a $50 Starbucks card where I can take multiple people and I can sit down and we can have conversations. Oh, I'm in. Anything where it's only specific to the individual and not something I can share someone. And then I get to tell someone why I'm excited about this, why I got this. Oh, that's great.
That's why I know a church that bought their minister a cheap It wasn't an expensive one. They found a really inexpensive like goat farm country club. But they bought their pastor a membership to the country club so that they could take other people from the church and go do that. Years ago, back when I used to play a lot of golf, my church here gave me a $500 gift card to a golf store here in town, which gave me the ability to buy a golf club I would have never bought with my own money. But it was nice to use to go out with other people.
I did not hear a S on golf clubs. You paid $500
you did not hear an S
for a golf club?
For golf clubs. I think I bought, so there were some balls involved in it as well, but it was I've always wanted a really big expensive driver, and I've never been able, I was never going to pull the trigger on a big expensive driver, and there was one that I really wanted. So yeah, just the church here has done some amazing things with that. Although I continue to say, when they pay you twice a month, once a week, whatever it is, that is appreciation. And the more you've got a real healthy relationship, you'll find that it almost seems awkward to them too, because why would I do that for the friend I always appreciate?
I know.
Things to think about.
Well, I'm so glad you guys are with us. That wraps up today's episode. If you find yourself in this category where maybe you need to be appreciated on a level outside of your church, we would love to be those encouraging individuals for you in your life as a pastor. You can get in contact with us, at seatstothestreets.com. It's scrolling down on the bottom of your screen, or just send me a direct email, jr@seatstothestreets.com. They're all going to be in the show description and the show notes as well. Because we know that sometimes in pastoral ministry, you have to carry a lot of weight, and you don't want to take that home. So there's always the need to talk to someone who's been there and done that. And we'd love to be those ears for you if you'd like to have that. So get in contact with us, seatstothestreets.com. Love to be able to connect with you. All right. We will see you on the next episode. Take care.
Later.